So I thought that it will be fitting for us to talk about Temba Bavuma's captaincy on today's daily show. We haven't done a daily show like this in a long time where we discuss a topic because we've had cricket and been doing preview and review shows because of the cricket. So I thought that it would be interesting for us to bring this to your attention. I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment sections because there's been a quite an amazing turnaround when it comes to Temba Bavuma, particularly from the fan base. And whether it be on social media, whether it be in specific comments on Facebook, etc., and articles even about Temba Bavuma and the captaincy. And there's been some amazing comments going around about it. And I thought it would be an interesting topic to chat about and get your views as well on his captaincy because it is something that we should talk about. And I think that this is the right time to do so, particularly after a series win. So I will look at some of the comments as well, give you guys some insight into that, as well as, get the guys to talk about it as well. Well, we'll be doing that and focusing on that specifically on today's daily show. So let's get into it, guys. If you're new to this channel, subscribe to this channel, click that notification bell for all future videos. Don't forget to subscribe to Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. Go ahead and subscribe right now. The link is in the description. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid, and this is the show where we talk about all the major talking points in South African cricket. Today, I'm joined by Aditya, and today we're going to be chatting about Temba Bavuma's captaincy. Now, we touched on it in the review, but I thought let's do a little bit of a reaction to everything that has taken place over the last couple of days. So now there was a press conference that took place from Temba Bavuma. It was embargoed for this morning, and we put it out this morning on the channel. So a lot of you guys probably would have seen that video. But I thought to those that haven't, let's just maybe go through some of the topics that he discussed. But I also want to show you guys, or read some of the comments that were made on the various posts on Cricket Fanatics magazine on our platform. So there was some excellent comments on Facebook. We've had someone saying that Tumelo saying that the best white ball cricket SA has ever had. Humble and hardworking. They're talking about from his captaincy perspective. We've got Justin over here saying, Justin saying, let's just wait and see. He seems very consistent with the bat, always scoring. We have Sohail over here. He says he was always my favorite. He has always been played important knocks. It's the situation in which a person scores rather than the huge number of runs which matters the most. Then we've got Mlake. Is that how I pronounce it? I think it's Mlake's. Very difficult to pronounce, but things are coming together for him. Still a lot to learn. The inability to take a struggling bowler out of the attack. I think Magala bowled an over too many. The runs he conceded may be the difference between winning and losing. I'm not trying to be harsh on Magala. It happens to any bowler. It can be Rabada and Gidi, etc. Someone saying, Basile saying great with clapping hands, and then Leanne Coden saying excellent about Temba Bavuma's captaincy. So that's some of the comments that I can read to you guys out here about Temba on Facebook, on our Facebook page. Then as well, we've got I put out a tweet, an appreciation tweet. Hello, Umbo, welcome to the show. We had an appreciation tweet that I put out there just to say congratulations to Temba and his captaincy. And it did okay, considering that it was me that tweeted it, it did okay. So I think if someone else maybe tweeted it, it would have done a lot better. But the tweet got quite a bit of likes, got about 269 likes and 23 tweets. But there were some replies. Some Lawrence Bailey, obviously, that watches the show regularly, said, brilliant captain. We had cricket frogs in a blender, saying the real deal. Ken Borland, a journalist, saying one of the key differences in the series, in fact, Temba outled Rahul, no doubt. We had Marco saying, and Mark Boucher outcoached Dravid, question mark. And Gazelle saying Temba is a unifier, which is what the Proteas need the most. So those are some of the comments made on social media about him. I hope you guys put some of your comments as well in the live chat about him. But let me start this conversation just by reading out some of his quotes from the press conference, because this gives you some insight into how Temba feels about the captaincy in recent times. So Timber had to say, I don't think it's easy captaining this team. There are a lot of dynamics that you need to manage. For me, the biggest thing is trying to keep cricket the main focus amongst the guys. I hate to bring this up, but it's been a challenging period for the team, for the players, for particular members of management. There's been a lot of scrutiny surrounding the team and surrounding the organization. So to manage conversations happening around the changing room and to ensure our energy is 100% geared towards performing out there, for me, has been the biggest challenge. It's been a big responsibility, but has also been a privilege, but it's not easy. For me, that's the biggest challenge, and it's a big responsibility, but it's also been a bit of a privilege. I enjoy the captaincy. It seems to have brought the benefit of that showing in my own performances too. I enjoy the tactical side of things. There's a lot of thinking involved, and that thinking extends to our own game too. I suppose I'm a bit more clearer in terms of what I want myself to do. I'm always trying to assess the situation and come up with solutions. That's probably the reason why the form has come with captaincy. So that's some excellent comments from Temba Bavuma. I like how confident he is in press conferences, how straightforward he is in press conferences, and how at ease he seems to be when answering questions. He knows exactly what he wants to say and what he's aiming for. And I think that Timba's been excellent amongst all of these things. Yes, I feel that if we criticize the coach, of course, when we do poorly, you also have to also kind of say, well done to the coach for also having his part in this particular performances. I mean, there are similarities that you can see within some of the players that have taken on to Boucher as a player when he was in the past. A lot of people have actually looked at the situation and compared it to the way Boucher did a lot of sweep shots against spin, etc. And there has been a clear plan and improvement against the difficult things that South Africa faced in the past. So there has to be some props and congratulations to Mark Boucher too. But this is a show about Temba. And I just wanted to find out from you guys in the live chat, of course, and I'll read out your comments very soon. If you want to make sure that your comments get read out, click the super chat. There's a dollar sign. You can get your super chat on the screen as well. But let's get the guys on this panel. Let's get your views on Temba Bavuma as captaincy. What was it in for you that really stood out and impressed you the most in his early reign as captain? Now let's start with Aditya and then we can move on to Mpo.
Look, Temba has been outstanding in managing, obviously, the off-field challenges, but his tactical brilliance is just unbelievable. And it's not simply limited to field placings and bowling changes. In the second ODI specifically, Sisanda Magala was bowling, and generally the first couple of overs were not great. In one over, Magala, he bowled a couple of balls outside the off stump. KL Rahul hit them for boundary. Um, there was another ball that was a no ball, and then there was a ball that was wide down the leg side and it went for a four. And that was that was one of three or four poor overs that Magala had bowled. And one would expect at that time that Temba is going to take Susanna Magala out of the attack, give him a break, and then bring him back on at a later stage. But what Temba did instead was that he brought him back immediately for a next over, which, by the way, was very tight. And I thought that that was an indication of a captain having confidence in a player who wasn't having the best time on the field at that point, but eventually through the game, he did get better. And that to me was a remarkable tactical, and I think it was just testament to the relationship between a captain and his player. So that's certainly one. The way he's managed his spinners has been unbelievable. He really has gotten the best out of Shamsi and Maharaj for a long period of time now, and that must be considered, because they have been among the wickets on pitches that do have support for turn, but they're not necessarily ranked turners. So he's done that brilliantly well, and certainly the manner in which he's batted, and to got the rest of the batting lineup together as well has been fantastic. So all in all, I think anything we say about Temba will be an understatement at this point. He's been brilliant.
I think it was my turn, but yeah. My first ever press conference, live one in the stadium, was with Temba. And it was just myself and a few other SABC journalists, like two or three of us, and it was just so great. With the Jersey Stars in that season that they were losing, and the one thing I know about Timber, he really does protect his teammates. And the one thing I think when the world was like talking about Quinny at that World Cup, and the way he spoke about Quinny, and he protected Quinny, and he gave Quinny time to be able to collect his thoughts and do everything else. That showed the mark of a true leader, and that's something that I've seen in the Lions, something I've seen in throughout his career, even when the Proteas. Every time when he was struggling for form and he wasn't scoring the runs that everybody wanted him to in those first 4 years of international cricket, 5 years of international cricket, the one thing people said was like, no, he's a great leader. He leads from the front, and that's what he does. He loves that, and he relishes the ability to be able to lead teams and think about the game of cricket, because he's a great thinker of the game. And what I really have enjoyed this year is the fact that everybody's now coming into seeing Temba on the biggest stage, taking South Africa through the different, because it hasn't been easy. No captain could have navigated this. Look at how India look so mentally shot after that Test series loss, and Virat Kohli resigning and everything else. Even though they said it wasn't affecting them, you could just see it. And Timber's gone through Quinny, he's gone through BLM, he's gone through that World Cup, and he's still got that team humming at that World Cup as hard. And I know I was hard on that team, and I still am, because I honestly think we should have beaten Australia, and that's the reason why we're out of the World Cup. It's nothing else. There's no net run rate, whatever it was. But in that West Indies game, we won that West Indies game without Quinton de Kock. We then went on to go and beat England, which was like the best team in the world. And that's the type of man management Temba has. Yesterday was asked in a press conference about Sisanda Magala, about why does he have continued faith in Sisanda, even in the death overs. And he's like, I know what Sisanda can do. I've seen what Sisanda can do, and I back him always. And so for me, that says a lot about a person and the leader, when you can protect your players when times are tough. And the thing about it is that in as much as he was, when we're talking about captains, I think last year in 2019, who should captain the side, I knew Temba was supposed to be the right guy, because of the fact that this guy, that Lions' success in that period under Jeff, under Enoch, was led by him. And they had some moments. I remember on the one day against Western Province, they needed to beat Western Province on the final day. They had to declare in the morning, make a sporting declaration, and they still managed to bowl Western Province out to win the 4-day series. Nobody watched that. There were a few people in the stadium. Nobody broadcast about what the Lions did. But what Temba did that day as the captain, to rally those guys, to give guys a chance, and let guys be at their best and get them performing at their best on that day, when that season was pretty much written off halfway through, they kept on fighting back to that final one. So for me, this year has just been a culmination of the guy I wanted South Africa to see, a guy I wanted South Africa to fall in love with, because Timber's such a great guy, he's such a great captain, and even on the field, the way in which he's used the spinners, the way in which he trusts. The thing about Timber, he's very natural in his captaincy, so he trusts himself, he trusts his gut, and he's willing to take risks. There were moments in the ODIs, I think in the first ODI, where I was like, Timber, I disagree with you. Like the whole Aiden Markram extended bowling spell, 6 overs. I kind of sat there going, dude, what are you doing? But in over 5, Aiden takes a wicket. He breaks, opens up and it happened again in the next game. So it's something that I think we should all appreciate. I think he's been so good, even with everything going around. Imagine knowing that your coach is leaving, your coach is being suspended, and the guys around you, or is about to be, or whatever it is, he's about to be investigated, and the guys around you are rallying. You need to get this team to perform, and he's done that. It hasn't been easy. Like the drama India is facing, South Africa's faced like 2 times more, but they still were able to perform at a
Yeah.
high level. So it speaks to the culture that they've set with him and Dean, because they're both co-captains, but also speaks to the level of leader that Temba is, to be able to get guys to give him what he needs. And the fact that we managed to restrict India from a bowling perspective, the fact that we managed to bat so well in such tough conditions in Paul, but also at Newlands, guys were like that Quinny century, and the way in which guys were asking about Quinny at the beginning of this test or ODI series, whether he's okay, he's mentally fine. He was like, "Look, I'm happy to have Quinny around." So I really do love Temba, and I've always have. I think he's a great guy. But I do think that that I'm really happy that the world's now gotten to see who this guy is, because he's a really great captain and he's a really great asset to any side. And I'm just so happy that he's up here in the north playing cricket for the Lions.
Yeah.
Just one thing to add here is that Temba's temperament under pressure is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is brilliant because if you saw how you saw a couple of overs that Deepak Chahar really got into the South African bowling attack there. It felt like he could take the game away, and he almost did. But at no point did Temba ever lose his cool. Whether it was at Dungingiri's over, or a bunch of freebies that went to the boundary or over the ropes. He never lost his cool, and eventually Deepak Chahar got out, and South Africa sealed the win. So the one thing about players who aren't particularly emotive on the field is that your team tends to be a reflection of that image, and that's exactly what happened yesterday.
Mm. I want to add to that because things that stand out to me from Timba, from my perspective, is the ability to make unselfish decisions as well. I think that's something that I've picked up on in his captaincy as well. Even if it means that he needs to maybe drop down the order in a particular match and not bad at all. He sometimes in the World Cup we saw that quite often actually, when the situation was there for someone else to come in and who he felt was better to be suited to that situation, he would put that person in before himself, and I think that marks the true ability of a captain to be able to see that, to put yourself out of the firing line as well, but also to know when to take responsibility. And I think that Temba knows that path on how to do that. But the biggest compliment he can get is the synergy within this team. Keeping the culture together, keeping the players together, helping these players believe in each other. There was that particular line that he said, for example, keeping the dressing room talk positive, amongst all of this negativity. I mean, there would have been a lot of confusion on how to feel with the allegations that Mark Boucher is going through, for example. And if that's your head coach, you're going to need a good captain to basically keep everybody together. And I can't give Boucher credit for that because you can't. That had to have come from the captain, because Boucher is the one that's in the firing line. If it was someone within the Alcin, within the coaching camp, maybe I would have said yes, Boucher has something to do with that. But there's no, if a certain player is maybe thinking or feeling a certain way about these allegations, because these players also will have their own opinions on on the matter as well. So we don't know actually what these players are thinking about these allegations, etc., and the things the misconduct trial that's going to be taking place very soon. So for Temba to get a performance out of these players through all of this happening, it's phenomenal. And majority of the drama has happened under his captaincy and not necessarily under Dean's. So we can give Dean credit for performing really well in the test series as well, because he was also under pressure and he was also going through pressure of the past. Obviously, South African test cricket, we were trying to find our rhythm and trying to find our mojo back again. And Dean needs to get credit for that, because he was really involved with that with regards to the bat as well. But all the drama happened in the World Cup, and now in the West Indies, it was happening as well. The kneeling situation that took place, all of those things. Bavuma would have been one of the main guys, I feel, in that dressing room to speak forward, and we need to give him credit for that. But guys, his fielding and his decision making as a captain when South Africa is bowling is superb. So you guys can add to that, but that is my little two
Yeah.
cents.
No, but you do speak the truth, and I do understand. Remember, even in when they came, when was it? There was a press conference that he had where he spoke about that he has to always, when the Black Lives Matter issue happened in the, I think at the World Cup, or when they had to make a decision, Dean wasn't there because the test team wasn't there, and I think it was either in Ireland or somewhere, and he had to inform Dean to keep Dean informed, because they were working as a partnership, and I like that, and I appreciate that. But for me, that ability to be able to get this team playing whitewashing India, with all the drama that's going on, to have your top six, 5 of your top 6 batters average a minimum of 41. That was David Miller, minimum of 41. Temba averaged 51. Rassi and Quinny and Yanaman were just up there, just dragging things through. That said a lot. And then on top of that, to have a bowling attack of a Lungi Ngiti, who, remember, Lungi even tweeted saying something about something to the haters, whatever it was. I don't know what it was after the test series. You can feel that, you can understand that a guy like Lungi listens and watches when people say, no, he must be dropped, this must happen, this happened. To win it ODI series without Kagiso, without Anuknokia, says a lot. And to get guys like Andile taking the most wickets in the thing, when the whole world wants Andile gone. To get Lungi Ngiti taking wickets and leading this attack, when the whole world thinks Lungi Ngiti is a scrub. To get Sisanda into this team, there was a point in the first ODI where Sisanda had gone for runs. And then they brought him back in the middle overs. And everyone was like, no, what is he doing? Just leave this guy, let him just, we understand it, but he's not there. And then all of a sudden he gives the ball to Sisanda, that first over, wicket. Same with Andile. I was about to tweet, what's the point of playing Andile if you're not going to bowl him? And then, just before I pressed send, I see Andile's coming through. So I pulled back, Captain. I'm sorry. I do apologize for thinking like that. And then Andile went and took 2 wickets in that little period at the end of that first test of the first ODI. And the faith he's shown in Andile, when not a lot of people, and I've spoken on this platform about what I think is going on with Andile in terms of domestic and the faith. No one's showing him any faith, but Temba showed him a lot of faith this series, to give him the ability to be able to be the number 2 bowler in this bowling attack and beat India, and beat this Indian team, and so there's a lot that Temba did that many people might ascribe to Mark Boucher, but I do think that based on the fact that Mark was under a cloud, and even like in the test series, Dean even tried to protect Boucher and say that he's a great guy and all of these things, and try to put in his opinion into that. This time, Temba did it on the field, getting the guys to play, getting the guys to bowl well, getting the guys to bat well, getting the guys to get a rhythm. And the thing is, I've got hope that 2023, based on the way this team has played, and this man at the helm, that something amazing could happen in 2023. Largely because what I saw this past week is surpassed what I actually thought this team could actually get to. And you don't do that with a captain who isn't inspiring you. You know, you just need to look across to the other dressing room. KL Rahul's a fine gentleman. He's a great guy. But I don't think he's the guy that can lead India. To the point where I think even on my podcast today, I said maybe the one thing that maybe in BCCI needed to do was probably get Virat to continue until 2023 to kind of give Rahul some semblance of continuity, because he comes in, he gets a new captain, and all of a sudden things are starting to fall apart. And it's not by anyone's fault. It just happens that way, that when you lose a captain as inspirational as Virat Kohli, things tend to start to slip away and fall apart. Those levels of accountability, those levels that your captain wants of you, no longer there. And that's what Temba brought to this team. He required everyone's excellence from the get-go. And it came out. And so did Dean. And so did Dean in the Test series. And guys responded. So they may not have been the most popular choices for captain, because I remember when we were here, when we were talking about captains, it was Aiden Markram all the way. And I honestly do think Aiden's a similar type of captain to these guys. But I do think, and I'm very happy that they made this decision, that Graham went this way with Dean and with Temba, because it gives you that level of continuity. It gives you a base where people can look and be like, but Temba was this type of captain. I also want to follow in this mold and try keep those standards up. And I do think Temba learned a little bit from Faf, because Faf's a similar type of captain. Faf was that guy who protected his players. Faf was that clever captain, came with a bloody long stop, and I was like, Faf, what are you doing? Got wickets there. Faf was one of the, I think for me, Faf was the better captain South Africa's ever had. I know Graham holds the title of the most successful, but I think the best captain South Africa has ever had across all formats is Faf. And I love the way he thought about the game. I love the way he brought it out and how he controlled games. And
how he controlled the press box too.
Exactly. Yeah. And Temba does the exact same thing. You know, and it's not like he's trying to be Faf 2.0. Temba's always been like this with the press. It's just that he took some of the learnings from a guy like Faf. And maybe that's how we need to build our test sides or get our captains in, to be able to allow them to learn from guys who are built from the same cloth. Graham was built from a different school. So when Faf came in, it was slightly different, because we had guys who were not necessarily the captaincy leadership material. They were great guys, they were great players, but I don't think they were great leaders. Whereas Faf was great. Like Faf's confidence, you know, in the 2011 World Cup, when he was like, I'm the world's most successful 28-year-old or the highest potential 28-year-old before the New Zealand game. And then New Zealand beat us anyway. And then he grew from that Faf to the Faf that was coming out in toilets in his bathrobe, trying to protect guys. Yes. But for me, that's what I like about what we're trying to build here. And maybe it's an ode to Mark Boucher and Graham Smith for looking for those cricketers who are composed, who are hardened, who don't break down when things get tough, who keep their cool, and they go through the motions and they understand what's going on, and they have a way to contextualize what's happening.
Yeah.
And then communicate it to the teammates. Because after Centurion, Dean would have dealt with a massive storm, but he rode the storm. He led from the front. The players followed. Temba here, coming into this ODI series that nobody actually cared about, because A, it wasn't for Super League points, and B, the World Cup's like 17 however many months away. And he came up against an Indian side that's formidable on paper, slightly better than his South African side on paper. But it turned out that he was turned out that this team, because that's the other question I had: were India that bad or South Africa that good? But I do think one of the reasons why South Africa won the series was the captaincy, and largely because of the mental side of the game, because both teams had drama, but one team rose above it, and the other team just fell flat like a pancake. Literally, they rolled over, and allowed South Africa to go over them.
And I think also you can add to that the confidence that he gives to players. There's an indication of that. There's obviously Aditya spoke about Magala, but also I think Dwayne Pretorius, that last over. I don't think Dwayne knew that he was going to bowl that last over, and Temba trusted him regardless of it. And I think he must have had a say in Dwayne Pretorius becoming a death bowler as well, because I mean that was something that came to a shock to me when I saw him being the main death bowler at the T20 World Cup, for example. And it looks like South Africa's going towards that direction with Dwayne Pretorius when he is selected, that he'll bowl the last over. His composure is unbelievable recently. So, and I know they were teammates at the Lions as well, so they will know each other quite well, as Rassi. So there's a core group of guys that really trust Temba, and it's shining through and it's showing. But I also want to commend him for very young in his career as a cricketer, what he's giving back to the community and what he's giving back to cricket in South Africa with his foundation as well. And that's very important because he wasn't a captain when he was making those decisions. And that's a big indication of someone's character. Aditya, if you want to add anything else before we say bye to the
Can I just say something about the foundation before Aditya comes through, before we lose the point? That foundation is taking children through university.
Yeah.
They are paying the fees of children to go to university. It's such an important thing in South Africa. And he's doing such a great job. And then obviously there's cricket, there's the cricket work that they do. But as a person who got a scholarship similar to what those children are getting to go to university, I really commend him for it. And I think for me, that tells you a lot more about a person than us sitting here. He's literally seeding the future of South Africa. He's planting a seed into the future, and that is more than anything else. And that is why he's the eternal captain.
Well, I mean, Temba has been fantastic, and long may his success continue. I can only imagine that when KG and Andrik come back into the team, South Africa is going to be very hard to defeat. So, all the best to Temba. And there are a couple of comments here asking for Temba to be a part of the IPL. I mean, I hope so too. I don't know if he's put in his name for the auction, but I'd love to see him in the IPL. I think Temba and Chennai seem to be the perfect fit, in my view. So, yeah, I hope to see him in yellow at some point.
Looks like he has. I don't want him in the dad's army, though. Like, I don't understand. Oh, no.
But that, culturally, but they're not the dad's army anymore. They're not, like at a cultural level, though. At a cultural level, if you look at the philosophy of Temba's captaincy and the philosophy of the Chennai Super Kings as a team, I feel like they're the perfect fit. And he's exactly the sort of player that they'd go after.
I want a big field and a flat pitch. So, I don't know, Ahmedabad, maybe, for a few crore?
No, I mean, I personally feel like his talent would be best exploited in Chennai. Because it's a big ground and it's a spinning wicket. And he's a smart cricketer and he's an international captain.
We never spoke about his smarts, his cricket smarts. Good to pick that up, Aditya.
Yeah. So that is exactly what Chennai will go for. And I think Chennai is a smart franchise. I really don't want him to go to anywhere else apart from Chennai or Mumbai, Lorenzo says he'd be good.
But how's it gonna work? How's it gonna work at the top? You've got Faf. Do you open with Faf and Temba?
Well, Faf is not there anymore, so
Faf is in the auction. He's in the auction.
But they're gonna get Faf back again.
We
They're going
don't
to
know
try,
that.
but see, it depends on the purse, right? Because Chennai has got
Mm.
48 crores in the purse to get
Left.
21 players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So they
tight.
don't have a lot of
Right.
money left because they've retained 4 players already. So that's going to be a tough one. I hope Faf goes back to Chennai. That would be great. I'm sure he'd want to go back to Chennai as well. Uh, but it's difficult. Like the logistics of it will be difficult. But fingers crossed.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You know, the daily shows are a little bit shorter. I want you guys to also put in the comment section what you guys would like to see on our daily shows. Maybe we'll take one of your topics and maybe do a show on it. That would be an interesting thing. If you want us to compare things or you want us to opinion on something, let us know. Yes, I know that the Friday Q&A session is an opportunity for you guys to ask us questions, but we can dedicate a whole show to one of your ideas if you guys want to let us know. So put it in your comment section. Let your friends know as well if you want them to come on board and join the Cricket Fanatics magazine family as well. Don't forget to smash the like button. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that notification bell for all future videos. But also don't forget to download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight into your inbox every single month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description as well. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks from Paul. Thanks Aditya for coming out on the show. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care, everyone.